PTC Media, bringing quality scouting podcasts to packs, troops, and crews. Find us on the web at ptcmedia.net.
My brother Scouts, I want to remind you in a very few words of what your duty is as Scouts. Apart from merely living in camp, cooking your own grub, and playing Scout games.
Hello, Scouts and Scouters, and welcome to Scout Nation, PTC Media's newest podcast, where we're going to be focusing on Boy Scouts, Roundtable, and you know that meeting after the meeting after the meeting? Well, you know, it's Roundtable. And then after Roundtable, there's that bunch of guys that kind of stand around afterwards and chit-chat and talk about scouting, and then the lights go off and they get pushed out into the parking lot where they spend another half hour and 45 minutes in the parking lot talking scouting until those phones start ringing and it's the wives wondering where the heck they are. Well, that's what Scout Nation is, and that's who we are. I'm Brian.
And I'm Shawn.
And we're going to be talking about scouting. We're going to be talking about what works and what doesn't work for us. I'm a relatively new Scoutmaster of a large troop, and Shawn is a relatively new Scoutmaster of a small troop. So we're going to be talking about extremes and how we run our program and what works for us, what doesn't work for us. And we're looking forward to your input to give us some talking points on what works and doesn't work for you. And we hope we all learn from each other, because that's what Roundtable usually is.
That's right. And I like the little story with the until your phone rings, because I think that's every one of us, Brian. That
yeah,
you're on the parking
all the
lot
time.
and you're with two of your scouting buddies and you're right in the best part of what happened at summer camp, and the phone rings, and what comes out of your mouth? Oh my God, it's my wife. Every time.
Yes.
So you answer the phone, you know you're gonna get, where are you? And you always have your story ready. At least I do. It's always, well, you know, Keith really needed to talk tonight. Well, okay, I understand. And yes, I'm stopping at Dairy Queen for a Blizzard. Oreo? You know, yeah, Oreo's fine. All right,
Oh, there you
I'll
go.
see you in a little bit. And that always makes it better. So I just come home, and I guess the Oreo Blizzard is my penance for being late coming home from Roundtable. But as a lot of you listeners know, you know me. I'm Scoutmaster Shawn from the True North podcast, wisecracking Scoutmaster from some of the Leaders Campfire trivia shows, and a former commissioner. As Brian said, too, I'm also Scoutmaster of a brand new troop. I have 9 boys, and that's as of my last count. I ran the last year with 4, and it's been, you hear me talk about a lot in True North about the Rockwell painting and the good times and the bad times and things that happen. And every once in a while I put my heart on my sleeve and talk about the bad thing that may have happened at a troop meeting or on a camp out, and I have to learn from it. And that's exactly what I'm doing right now. And there's a lot of great material out there to, you know, bounce your ideas and use as templates, and there's a lot of different sounding boards that you can bounce ideas off of. But a lot of times that I find the best help is the experiences from the scouters that help me, not what the literature tells me to do. And I was trying to keep in mind that the BSA literature, obviously they're doing something right because they've been around for 100 years, but in the same sense, some of the stuff is standardized for, say, a troop of 30 or a troop of 50. And Brian and I are kind of different natures of that. We're extremes of that. So, you know, I told you a little bit about my little tiny section of the world, my little nine scout troop. I think somebody, my partner in crime on this show, has a little bit more of an extreme on that. Brian, why don't you tell him?
I have a little bit more extreme. I'm a Scoutmaster. I've been in scouting a long time. I rose to the ranks in the great city of New York to achieve my Eagle, and got re-involved when my son became a Tiger. And now, few years back, our founding scoutmaster of our troop was 15 years old at the time, stepped down, and they honored me with an ask, and asked me if I would be a scoutmaster. And after some thought and consultation and marriage counseling, I said yes, and I've been a scoutmaster 3 years now. My troop, we're doing recharter coming up soon, and right now we have 118 scouts on our charter. So definitely polar opposites with Shawn, but I think what Scout Nation is and hopefully will become, I think first started when we met each other online. And even though we are that polar extreme, you starting a troop from scratch and me taking over a well-established, well-run, well-organized, and populated troop, we were both brand new Scoutmasters, and we both had the same issues and the same problems, just at different scales.
Yep.
And I think that's the that's going to be the beauty of our discussions here in this podcast is that the BSA really gives us a lot of latitude when you think about it. There are no cookie cutter troops. Just look in the troops in your area. How many troops are in your area? And I can almost guarantee that not one is alike. Yes, we all wear uniforms. Yes, we're all Boy Scouts, and we have the same oath and law and the same, hopefully, values, and we have an outdoor program. But like our friend Jerry likes to say, there's a lot of flavors out there. And the BSA literature and the BSA training, while absolutely fantastic, I hear, Shawn, you're going to Wood Badge this year?
I am.
Hopefully.
I am.
Excellent. Excellent. I got my beads over a year ago, and I was on staff last year. BSA training is invaluable. The literature is invaluable. But once you start putting that stuff into practice, there's a lot of different variation, and that's what we're going to be discussing.
And like you said, there's a lot of things that we wanted to discuss, and we don't ever want it to be thought that we're dismissing the BSA literature, because I know in my troop, and this is what we've already set forth, and I know that, Brian, I think you've talked about it too, that there's no such thing in our troops as bylaws. There's a couple of governing rules, and I've seen them on your troop. Your troop has a website, correct?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and I mean, yours is one page, and it's drawn up by the PLC, and it's real common sense stuff, like you can wear your Class B T-shirt from Memorial Day to Labor Day. Is that your troop?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, it's simple little rules like that. I mean, they're not even rules. They're just things that the PLC said, this is what we want to do, and this is what we want to make happen. The other rules that they're not. The things that govern my troop are the Scout Oath and Law, the Boy Scout Handbook, the Scoutmaster's Handbook, and the Guide to Safe Scouting. Those are really my only guides. And I don't need to go up and beyond. There's other books that I read. I've read the 8th Scoutmastership. I've read a copy of
Love that book.
It's an old patrol leader's handbook that I found on the dump from Scouts Canada, and I printed that off and read that and was just amazed, because that philosophy from back then is still in place today, even for a Canada-based unit. And I know there's a lot of good reads out there, and I haven't sat down and read them all. Rocks in My Backpack, the Alvin Townley books. I read, it's slipping the Scoutmaster's Other Handbook.
That I have. That's actually a really good book. And there was also another new book that came out called The Patrol Method by 5 Eagle Scouts.
Yeah, and Clark was really kind of pushing that one too. And I never got a chance to get it, but I was looking forward to it. That the one that's the other Scoutmaster's Handbook, I actually bought a copy, read it cover to cover, gave it to my first assistant Scoutmaster. And when I say first, he's not like my number one, but he was my first assistant Scoutmaster. And he read it cover to cover, and he gave it back to me, and I said, give it to Bob, our committee chair, and I gave it to Bob, and I said, Bob, this is a good read. Read it, it makes sense.
keep it moving.
Yeah, and it really, it helps put things in perspective with where you want to be with your units. But those are the types of things that are outside the BSA. I know what the BSA says, but the BSA stuff is written for troops of 30 or 40 boys, and patrol size is not going to be optimal for a guy like me. Patrol size for you, one of the things that, what do you think are one of the, let's talk pros and cons, okay?
Okay.
Let's talk pros and cons about, Scoutmaster Shawn's troop of 9 versus Scoutmaster Bryan's troop of 118. One of my pros are everything is probably a little bit easier to handle. It's, for me, I'm herding a couple of cats. When I'm chasing my boys through the woods, I'm only chasing 5 or 6. It's, outings are easy. We can go into the bowling alley on a given night, and we say, we got 8 people that are going to bowl. They give us 2 lanes, and we're fine. Our meeting place holds 120, 130 people, and we're 10. So that affords us the opportunity to be able to clear out the whole room and set up tents and pack backpacks and practice true skills indoors. We live in Wisconsin. It's raining, it's snowing, it's raining, it's snowing, it's 95, it's 22, it's 86, it's 15 below.
And that's just summer.
Yeah, right, and that was just the 4th of July. And, that affords us with having a small troop like that. We can do that. Obviously, I'm not always going to stay a small troop, folks. So let's understand that my troop is going to grow. But in the same sense, right now, that's affording me a whole lot of great stuff. So I can say that that's one of my pros. Brian, do you have any,
All right, well, one of my pros with the large size is being such a large troop, we are provided a lot of unique opportunities.
Okay.
Just because from different levels, because we have such a large volunteer base, we get a lot of phone calls or asks at Roundtable that we need 8 guys, we need 10 guys, we need a bunch of guys to help out at a flag ceremony or where we're doing our University of Scouting this weekend, and they need I'd say about 20 scouts to help out. Well, we're doing more than half, and this is a council-wide program, but they know that they could come to us, that we have such a large volunteer base that if even 10% of my troop decides to do it, that's 10 guys. That's a lot of volunteers. We can also, because of the large volunteer base, when there are really big projects or big needs, they assign it to us. A perfect example for us is our Scouting for Food. Scouting for Food, we have a home base, which is our local firehouse, and all the other packs and troops have their routes, and then they bring everything to one final station where we pack it up and send it out to the food pantries. Well, because we're so large, they usually give us that firehouse. If we can staff that firehouse for 12 hours and only have 2-hour shifts,
okay,
and not really overwork everybody. So we get those unique opportunities, plus volume discount. There's a lot to be said about that we do some campouts that a lot of other troops don't, or limit just because of the price. And they only go out once every few years or so. But when I go to a climbing facility that can take 60 climbers a day, and I tell them, listen, I'll take the whole weekend. I've got enough guys that I'm going to be climbing all day Saturday and all day Sunday, guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
Not only does it make them happy, but they'll send us a discount our way so that we're able to. It falls into our scouts. A scout is thrifty, and it falls into our price range.
Okay.
And then lastly, something like that, we can take over a place. and then we can run it as an entire scout facility. Like said climbing camp out, if a troop like yours were to go, you would be 8 or 9 guys climbing on a wall with 50 other people who may not, let's say, be very scout-like in their manner. You might get some language or some dress or some age issues, where you've got some young couples from college who like to climb or whatnot. Not saying that it's bad, but sometimes you've got some impressionable scouts in that first or second year stage, and then you've got a couple of ladies in dress climbing. Not something that some parents want their kids exposed to. When we go to the climb place, it's all us. So we don't have to worry about any outside influence. When we go to we went locally to a local state park that had a lake in it, and in the morning we just took over their swim area. We cleared it with them, and they said it's all yours. And that morning it was us. We ran it like a Boy Scout swim area should be. We had buddy checks. We had the whole 9 yards. We had lifeguards, and we didn't have to worry about beer and smokes and bikinis that you would at any other public beach if the boys wanted to go swimming. So that's one of the pros of having such a large troop.
Okay.
Now you have another pro.
I've got plenty of pros. I've got plenty of pros, but I've also got some cons. And you were just talking about, all the activities and stuff that you guys can go on. Well, for me, when we plan an activity, and I have 9 guys, and the activity, is suited for 9 guys, and only 5 or 6 show up, well, then that's a big glaring, and if the assistant scoutmaster and his dad don't show up, then all of a sudden it's, okay, now I'm down an adult and I'm down a scout, and it really shows. So, the low numbers, and with that, it does maybe make it seem that it's a bit harder to get, maybe get the volume discount, maybe to get the, I don't want to say a discount. We'll still get one, but for the most part, we can't bogart the lakefront, which
Right.
is sometimes kind of a cooler thing to do, and to be able to give that commitment, like you said, to a rock climbing place that I know I've got 100 people. I'm gonna fire 100 people through my business this weekend. And on the average weekend, the guy's probably thinking he's lucky if he does 50 for the weekend, and now he's got a guaranteed 100.
Exactly.
That sure makes it a heck of a lot easier the next time you call him and say, look, there's only 50 of us that want to come on just Saturday. Sure, no problem. I'll shut it down.
Right.
You guys want to come and do a 2-for-1 or things of that nature because you scratched his back. Obviously it's a con for me, but on the same sense, I want to make sure that my boys understand that it's not all about getting the great discounts, and it's not about taking over an area. We still want to use some of the methods of the adult interaction. We also want to still be Scout as thrifty, but in the same sense, understand that, we do get a little bit limited with the smaller numbers. But just within the last month, like I said, I've gone from 4 scouts to 9 scouts. So even that has made my dynamics of my troop meetings a heck of a lot better, because now I've got 4 guys who, for the last year, I thought they were just kind of little knuckleheads, and that's what I call them. I call them knuckleheads, and, they're my guys. I've had those 4 guys since they were Tigers. So I've had them now for going on 6 years. And now my little knuckleheads are my little mentors and teachers. They're teaching these 5 new guys that have come in. They grab a chunk of rope and they walk over it and say, here, this is how you tie this knot. Boom, boom, boom. And I look at them and go, okay, when I asked you 3 weeks ago to tie that knot on the campout, you couldn't do it. Oh, well, that's because, you put too much pressure on me. Oh, well, all right.
Right.
So go do your thing. But, that's one of those, kind of, that's rabbit trailing a bit there, but that's one of my cons where, you know, that.
Well, see, that's a con that's also a pro. You have a con that if they don't show up, your activities are harder to do. But the pro is that there's such a small group that your guys, your original guys, felt the need that they needed to step up when your new guys came in. Now, one of my cons is because I have such a large group, there's the possibility of a drop-off in leadership or activity by scouts because there's so many. Because I have 118 scouts, that one individual scout can say to himself or rationalize to himself, well, there's so many guys here, somebody will do it. Somebody will take over. Somebody will run for patrol leader. Somebody, oh, look, there's some Weeblo in the corner that broke away from the large group that is visiting. Somebody will take care of them. I don't have to because there's another 50 guys standing in this room. One of them will do it. So that for me is a big con. Fortunately, we've made a turnaround in the past couple of years. We had a patrol. We had a little leadership gap where there was a patrol that really didn't have to step up because there were other guys or there were other patrols around them that did step up and stepped up so well that each of those patrols generated multiple SPLs and had a lot of, even though there weren't SPLs, they were just very active and very upfront. So they had that feeling that, you know what, they're already taking care of it, so I can be over here goofing off with my friends. And when all of a sudden they were the older patrol, they might as well have been a first-year patrol sometimes, I thought, just because there was no need for them to lead, except to send a patrol leader to PLC. Once every 6 months, somebody else would be patrol leader. And then that was pretty much the leadership you got out of that patrol. So that's a really big con. And piggybacking on that is the shy kid. Every troop has a shy kid. Mm-hmm. And because of the size, one of my things that I really look out for is the scout that disappears, because I feel like they think nobody will notice that I'm gone because there's 10 other guys in my patrol who are always here. Nobody's going to miss number 11. Mm-hmm. And those are the guys that I make sure I go out of my way to point them out to the SPL. But I also, that's one of those things I do take upon myself and make that phone call or send them an email. And just say, hey, you know, where you been? How's everything going? We got to sign up next week. But that's a big con. It's just that drop-off due to having it such a large group in both activity and leadership.
Okay. And that's, you know, there's, like I said, there's a lot of pros and cons that we got. Another one of my pros that is, you know, we were talking about being a scout, being thrifty, is fundraising. You know, I'm still learning. I was a cub leader for years, and, you know, everybody sold popcorn. Everybody, you know, the program was what it was, and it wasn't as much, you know, like, I'll use Jerry as an example, going out, collecting cans, collecting bottles, cutting lawns, you know, things like that. Well, I've had younger guys that just haven't been able to do that, but now they're getting into understanding and knowing that. So fundraising, for me, is going to be a bit easier. Our charter organization is a really great organization. You know, we charter through the Moose Lodge, and they're really good about helping us out with a lot of different things. We run a restaurant at the Moose Lodge, and when I say we because I'm also a member of the Moose Lodge. And, you know, for your listeners out there who aren't a member, look into the Loyal Order of the Moose. I'm going to plug them right now because it's a great organization. A lot of their morals and their thoughts run in line with what we think as Scouters. It's a great organization. They help the elderly. They help the young. And it's a good secondary club for me in addition to scouting. Anyway, sorry that I got off track on there, but once they really help us with financing our unit. Our charter organization gives us $100 a month. Now, $100 a month.
Oh, that's great. That's very generous.
It is, and what they do is they cut us a check every quarter for $300. And that $300 really helps offset the cost of anything. But it's not only that cost. As I was saying, they have the restaurant. They'll order us food with the regular stuff, and they'll have a box of stuff sitting there for us. Our last camp out, I really wanted to get going with the guys, and I've talked about on True North how my troop is a backpacking, / mobile troop. So that means,
right.
Things to go. Well, I went into the Moose Lodge and I grabbed a small cardboard box and I talked to the administrator and I said, Terry, I was wondering if we could get some peanut butter and some jellies. He said, sure, how many you need? I said, like 30 or 40 peanut butters and 30 or 40 jellies. Well, they're in them little tiny single serving containers. But those simple little things of, I took enough peanut butter that would fill a jar. I took enough peanut butter that would fill a jar of peanut butter for a jar of peanut butter and a jar of jelly. So I had, now is that stuff expensive in the grocery store for a troop of 9? No, it's $5 tops for the jelly and peanut butter. But the Moose
right.
helped us out by giving us that and save us $5 on our camp out. Now we can do it with mashed potatoes and rice and different types of food items that we can maybe even get campouts where there's no cost for food. So that's helping us out. Now that's kind of getting off the pro of the small troop, but the Moose Lodge has also said that they can help us out with some other things like, do you know what Booyah is, Brian?
I have no idea what that is.
It's not a saying just by Stuart Scott from ESPN. Booyah is a soup that is pretty popular in my area. It's really just chicken soup, not so much with the noodles in it, and the chicken is cooked whole. You lop it up, and you throw all the, I don't want to say you throw beaks and butts in it, but you throw in, you throw the bones and everything in there, and you let it cook, and you cook it in like 55-gallon drums. And you build a fire and you slow cook it for 12 or 14 hours. And Labor Day here in Wisconsin it's a great Labor Day treat. I always remembered it, and it sells big time. Snowmobile clubs sell it for their fundraisers. Well, the Moose Lodge said that they'll do that for us. Well,
I'll say that's a big pro, because if they are able to help out with even just that little finance, that $100, that goes a long way when you only need a handful of food or some troop gear or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's a huge pro. Although I'm gonna piggyback on your pro with fundraising, because we have, being such a large troop, we have a unique opportunity with our local history museum. We have one of those living history museums in town. It's called Connor Prairie, and every summer they merge with our local symphony, and they do a Symphony on the Prairie program, where every weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, they have an outdoor music performance that literally brings hundreds of people, if not thousands of people, over the entire summer. And our fundraiser is almost every weekend of the summer, we go out there and set it up. And we are literally setting up hundreds and hundreds of tables and chairs every Friday afternoon, coming back on Saturday and resetting those tables and chairs, and then coming back on Saturday night after the performance and taking everything down for them. And it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. But with the size troop that we have, it goes rather quickly, because we will have 40, 50, sometimes 20, sometimes 60, because we also get free entrance into the park or into the performance. So 4th of July is always a very popular weekend to work it. But we've had guys who have worked that fundraiser and have paid for Philmont. And if you've ever been to Philmont, you know how much Philmont costs, and that's how much money these guys can make. And the reason we get it, the reason we're told, is that we're just such a large organization that we can get in there, get it done, and also the fact that we wear our Class Bs, and the patrons view from the rest of the park is that they see a bunch of adults and young scouts, young men in red shirts, fly in at noon, dump a whole bunch of tables and chairs and set it up with real precision and quickness, and then boom, they're out again. But they can appreciate it. They see that we're all a part of the same organization. You know, there's no yelling or screaming or loud music or people standing on the side smoking. We come in, we do a job, we do a really good job. We make sure we don't make a large impact on what's going on around us, and then boom, we're out. And we wouldn't be able to do that if we were a troop of 8 or 9. It would take us hours upon hours to finish that one up.
No, you know, and you were talking about setting up tables and chairs, and that's one of our duties that we do for the Moose Lodge. We meet on Thursday nights. When we get done, we go in and we set up the tables and chairs for their Friday night fish fry. And, you know, it's 18 tables, and it's just a 6-foot plastic folding table, so they're not heavy.
Right.
There's 6 chairs that go around. Each of the chairs are stacked 10 to a cart, and the carts can roll around and stuff. It takes us 20, 25 minutes, sometimes 15 or 10 if the boys are especially motivated, or you know, things like that. But, you know, when it's gotten a little bit easier because we have a few more scouts and 2 more adults to help out. But, you know, my last con was limited resources, merit badge counselors, you know, just general troop committee positions, assistant scoutmasters, a person to drive. That's one of my limited, you know, one of my biggest cons is just the limited resources on who I could tap into for things. You know, with the pack, it was pretty easy because, and I'm still affiliated with the pack, obviously, and I don't want to get too much into Cub Scout talk with that, but, you know, when you have, my saying as a Cub Master was many hands make light work. And I'll tell you, when there's not many hands, there's no such thing as light work. Now, you're saying that you get out there and you got to set up these hundreds of tables and chairs, but you get 60 people out there doing it, and you're flying around like miniature madmen. But
exactly.
It's a seamless thing, and it's appreciated, and everybody loves it. And obviously, they pay you for it. You guys, and you make a ton of dough off it. That, you know, some kid who decides that every weekend of the summer he's going to be bound and determined that he's going to Philmont. He's going to work every weekend of that summer to make sure that he's got the money to get to Philmont. And
it's also an excellent opportunity for our scouts and families in need as well, because we just, you know, when they're a little short that month and they ask us to hold a check because it's you know, even if the camp out's only $20, they're just, can you wait until next Friday to cash it? No problem. But you know what? Hey, here's an opportunity for you. And that scout gets out there, and that scout brings mom and dad, and we allow 4 people per family to help contribute to the scout account. And they can come in there, and they can make. They might not go to Philmont that year, but they can make enough money to fund their entire year worth of camping, and feel good about it because they earned it. They earned it, and mom and dad don't have to worry about their problems, their worries at home about putting food on the table in these economic times and all that. And here's an opportunity that they can continue to be involved in scouting, and the scout gets that feeling of accomplishment that he did it himself. He had some help, but when he goes camping next time, he doesn't have to worry about mom or dad paying for it. He's paying for it.
Mm-hmm. And
so
I think a lot of like I said, limited resources with me, adults and funds. You know, we don't have the funds yet. Yes, we have the extra $100 from our charter org, but it really hasn't kicked in too much. Over the last year, we've gotten since we started, we've gotten just short of $1,000 from our charter org, and that $1,000 we bought our first group of gear, our first set of gear, which ate up $600. We bought backpacks and tents and a couple cooking items, and all of a sudden, boom, $600 was gone. It's the little things of neckerchiefs and trying to start stocking your troop library with books. It's those little items that just nail you. And I've got a stack of receipts that I haven't asked for reimbursement for, because I know that we are not in a spot to be able to afford it yet. Our troop is not, and the time will come. I'm not concerned about that, and I'm not looking for old Scoutmaster Shawn's. He's funding his troop because that's what he wants to do. No, Scoutmaster Shawn wants to make sure that there's a good program for his scouts. And if it means that I'm going to be without my cup of coffee and donuts so that a boy can have a scout book, so be it. That'll come back later down the road. But with the funding, so sometimes, the Bank of Cleary is funding Troop 1363, or the Bank of Bob Hawkins is funding Troop 1363. But in those cases, the payoff is well worth it. I know, number one, I'm going to get the money back later. Number two, the look on the guys' faces when they see that, I threw an extra $5 that you guys could have s'mores this weekend. I'll throw in the money to see the look on their faces that they get to eat like pigs. I mean, they're my little knuckleheads. They deserve a s'more every once in a while. And, and tapping into the adult resource, too, is kind of tough. Looking for people to be on my boards review, and, you look at, right now I'm looking at the summer camping guide, and, make sure you get your troop coordinator, camping coordinator assigned, and you get this person do this and this person do that. Well, I'm looking at these fill in the blanks, and I'm seeing Scoutmaster Shawn's name in there right now.
See, now that's a big pro for me, because because I work in television, I'm not that good at math, so I'm going to round my boys up to 120. So if I have 120 scouts, I have 240 potential adults to help out. Now that's an incredible adult base that we can choose from. Now, as scouters, we all know that it's the old 80-20 rule, 80% of the work being done by 20% of the people. But, and I'm sure we can get into this on a later show, having that many people gives me the opportunity to not overwhelm, to sneak in small projects to get the hook in, and then we can reel them in later on with the big stuff. So I can probably find one adult or two that their sole job will be summer camp. And that's all they got to do the entire year. Because of such a large adult volunteer base, I'm afforded the luxury of doing that. We have a very large active committee. I think we had like 20 people at the last committee meeting about 2-3 weeks ago. And we have double coverage on a lot. We have 2 treasurers. They're co-treasurers, and when one's working on popcorn, one's working on recharter, and when one's doing right now one's doing dues, and the other is reorganizing the scout accounts. I've got 2 outdoor chairs. They happen to be a husband and wife team, but that's new. There used to be 2 outdoor chairs, and then those 2 guys went to do other things in the troop, and this husband and wife team stepped up, and they both did because having 2 people there works so well, because while the one outdoor chair is working on the January camp out, the other outdoor chair can work on the February camp out, and they just flip like that, so that they're always a little bit ahead of the game, as well as you don't get that burnout when you have, like you, putting your name down on everything. When you're fortunate enough to grab another person or 2, that's a lot of work for less than a handful of people to do. And it's very easy to get burnt out when it's just the committee chair, the scoutmaster, and some guy who shows up occasionally. So,
Yeah.
you know, a pro of that large troop is that adult base. But to come full circle with you, my last con is your first pro, which are your outings are easier to handle.
Mm-hmm.
My con is logistics. With having such a large troop, transportation, meeting space, and gear are all huge concerns in the forefront of our mind almost every meeting. There's a mad scramble. Yeah, I have that 240 adults, but I'll tell you what, they don't all come camping with us. And there's that huge scramble on a Thursday when we got X amount of scouts signed up to go, and X minus 8 seatbelts coming in on Friday.
Yep.
We need to find somebody, and need to find somebody fast to make sure we can get everybody there, because you don't want to leave anybody at the curb. And it always works out well. We've never left anybody behind. But there's that logistics and meeting space too. We had 3 patrols join us last year at crossover. We have a very effective recruiting team and apparently a very desirable program, and that we got 3 full patrols joining us last year. And I'm a little scared this year. I really am, because it's the same program. The scouts are in charge, and they've, if anything, they've improved on last year, and it's our same recruiting team. And I'm a little scared about what might happen come crossover time, because I'm not sure where we would stick another 3 patrols if we got it. That'd put us up at 13 patrols. Yeah.
And I don't want to say ouch like that. It's you know. It's a wow.
You could say ouch like that. You could say ouch like that, because I say ouch like that, and it's funny. We had our meeting last night. Tuesdays are meeting nights, and the adult quartermaster. We have 10. Actually, this term we have 11, but usually we have 10 youth quartermasters and 1 adult quartermaster who's chief of the trailer. And he was like, we need to talk. And I said, really, what's going on? And he goes, I'm just looking ahead a couple of months, and I'm a little worried. And I said, well, if it's the same worry that I have, we're right there together, because trying to outfit another 3 patrols is going to be a dent in the old wallet, and a couple extra poundage in our travel and our trailer, and we'll get it done. But it'll be interesting. I'm scared, and I'm excited, just because it's nice to know that you're doing something, and you're doing something well enough that a lot of people want to be a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But the flip side is that since nobody else is stepping up, you're the one that's got to take care of all the logistics. And I mean, not just me. I mean, I've got an incredible group of volunteers that help. But it's still that 80-20 rule, and that 20% of us that are doing that 80% of the work is going to have an uphill climb in the next few months, getting everything ready and going. So it's a pro and a con.
So now, how many different packs do you actually draw from then?
Everyone in the district, or everyone in our town. Actually, well, not everyone in our district, but we really don't do feeder packs. We get a list, and I'm sure we could do this at a later date and talk strategy. But in a nutshell, our DE sends out a list to all the Scoutmasters in the district of all the Webelos 2s, and we take the ones that are in our town because our district, we have a very large district that covers several towns. We find all the Webelo 2s in our town, and we just send them invites.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter what pack or where they are. And we've actually had a couple come in from out of our town, from nearby towns, just because they know of our program, because they've had people from that pack come to us in the past and are members of our troop. We've got a couple of scouts from surrounding areas that, instead of doing the troop near their high school or their schools or in their town, they'd rather drive the extra half hour, 40 minutes to our facilities and be in our troop. So, but that's what we do. We take all the names and we send out invites, and we say, this is who we are, and we've got 2 options for you. We encourage you to come to a Webelo night. We do 3 Webelo nights a year, and we have a little program that we do. And then we say option number 2, which we highly recommend to piggyback on option number 1, is after you see what our program is, come and see us warts and all, and just show up at a meeting, and your sons will be adopted into a patrol, and your parents, you will be adopted out into the foyer where there's some other parents just hanging out. You guys can ask questions of real live parents in the troop, and we go from there. And that's it in a nutshell. But it's a lot of work.
It's a big nutshell.
We've got some good people.
Yeah, Jimmy Carter would say that's a lot of nuts.
It's been very effective. We had we got 35 last year, 20 the year before that, 25 the year before that, and the year before that was a small year. We got like 8, but that's because the last year that I can remember, we got 40. So we held off on recruiting after we got that 40 because we had 4 full patrols that stuck around. And all of a sudden, it's like, wow, we don't want to do a lot of recruiting this year. Everybody else can have some guys. But what's just funny that we got 35 last year. There were a bunch of other troops in our district that also got double digits. So scouting is alive and well in our district.
Cool. Well, we talked a lot about what works for us and what's been working for us, and the pros and cons of our troop sizes. And obviously, there's more meat on this bone that we can chew on for probably show after show after show. And I'd love to talk about it more, but I think that maybe we save a lot of this stuff for maybe some listener feedback, or maybe for just you and I to banter about, or maybe we get a phone call from somebody. Maybe we're looking for another brand new Scoutmaster, relatively new Scoutmaster, wink, wink, Doug Metz, wink, wink, Spencer Miller, to come on and talk with us. And, we're not looking for people to come on board and to ask us questions so that the all-knowing Scoutmasters can answer them and tell them where they're right and where they're wrong. We're looking for people to come on and talk to us and tell us, hey, this is what works for me. And I'll take a prime example from the last call-in show. When you guys called me for my True North anniversary, was having your senior patrol leader call. I'll tell you what, man, I called my senior patrol leader the next day, and I said, dude, we got one kid who's on the fence. You need to call him. He's like, who is it? And I said, and I gave him his name, and he said, what's his phone number? And he called him. He said that the phone conversation was really brief and short. Didn't really get any answers, so I emailed Dad, and Dad said that Jack has decided to go to another troop. He said, but he really appreciated that we're passionate about the program and that we're aggressive recruiters, and he really appreciated that the senior patrol leader called. But there were other reasons that this boy decided to go to another troop, and I was fine with it, and I'm always going to be fine with it. So, that idea of having your senior patrol leader call the Webelos from that night, your Webelos visiting nights, is one of those great ideas that I think if you've used it before, great. If you've never used it before, now you have something.
Give it a shot.
Yeah, and if something you used in the past and you forgot about it and you've taken it out of your repertoire, hey, throw it back in there and give it a shot. People, scouters and parents, I hope they don't think that I just do this because I want to have a large troop so that I got 120 minions to boss around and to go out and mow my lawn and wash my car and make me look like a superstar. No, I want 120 kids that I'm going to turn into, help, mold them into the leaders of our country, into the people that, the next kid that's building the warp engine for space travel, whatever it is. That's what I'm doing here, and these are the things that we talk about in the park. I'm sure these are the same conversations that you guys have in the parking lot after roundtable, because I know that these are the conversations. This is what works for us. This is what doesn't work for us. This is why it does work. Hey guys, we've gone really long on this. So Brian and I are going to give you some of the particulars on how to get in contact with us, because number one, we thrive on feedback. How else are you going to know if you like us or if you don't? Scout Nation Show 1 might be Scout Nation one time only, but I'm hoping that it ain't. So, like Brian said in the beginning, we're on PTC Media. You'll find us there. That's no big thing. I'm Scoutmaster Shawn from True North. You know who I am. You can find me. I'm on Skype. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. You can find me at ptcmedia.net. My email address, if you're curious, is sean.cleary@gmail.com, but you can use scoutmastershawn@truenorthscouting.com. We'll give you some more updated contact information as time comes along, because we're still morphing PTC into the juggernaut that we want it to be. So that's how you can get a hold of me. Ryan, what do you got for them?
Well, they can get in touch with me. I am Bryan Spellman, BryanSpellman, on Twitter, also at the PTC Forum, same name. Email, easiest to remember, is scoutmaster@troop199.org. And those are the three best ways to get in touch with me. And I think our takeaway from this tonight would be, no matter whether it's 9 scouts or 109 scouts, as scouters, we face the same issues every day with our troop. And just because, Shawn, you're a scoutmaster of a tiny troop, and Brian, I'm a scoutmaster of a large troop, doesn't mean that we don't have those commonalities that we can help out each other.
Right.
And that's what we're doing here tonight, and that's what we'll be doing in the future. And we just wanted to show you guys some pros and cons of what we're dealing with. And what brought us together was the fact that even though we've had these different pros and cons, Shawn and I got together over the internet over the past it's been over a year now, I think. Yep. Because we had similar problems.
Started off on Skype, and we've gone back and forth now. It's, we trade text messages most days. So, Brian and I have built a really good friendship over the internet, and we're about 5.5, maybe 6 hours apart. So.
Right. Unfortunately, you're a Packer fan, and I'm a Colt fan.
Well, and that's probably a good thing, because we're in different conferences, and there's no arguments going on here yet. The only time that it's ever going to be a real issue is, maybe a Super Bowl or something like that, because I can even.
Which ain't going to happen this year for us.
Not this year. But there's a couple other things too that I want to talk about. I'm going to throw out there, and that's PTC Media. Like I said, I'm very grateful to the guys there that brought me on in the first place, and those guys all have great shows. Jerry, Steve, Chris. Obviously, Chris, he's the linchpin. I want to thank them for bringing us on and letting us start a new show. Go out there and visit the forums. Make sure you listen to their shows. Also, listen to the Miss Show. They're a bit more Cub Scout centric, but they do talk some Boy Scouts, but it's from a woman's perspective, and that sometimes helps you think, oh, really, I didn't know that. And I don't want to really get into that, because I don't think from a woman's perspective. At least my wife says I don't. Anyways, so if you are you're camping, or we all bring our portable electronic media devices, also known as cell phones, with us on the trail for the most part. A lot of us can't unplug. We justify it that it's an emergency type thing. you know what, you're sitting around the campfire, you see something really cool, or you want to call us from a waterfall, call the PTC hotline. The number is 260-782-4147. And just drop us a quick line. We'll get that out in the air, and, you know, leave a message and tell us what you're doing. We love to hear that stuff. Leave some feedback on the forums for us. Pretty soon our iTunes feed will be populated, and you'll see that out there. Leave some feedback for us there. We got to know you like us, or we got to know you hate us, because if you hate us, we need to know what we can fix to make you like us. If you're just not going to like, if you just don't like, you know, two old, fat, wisecracking Scoutmasters talking about scouting, you're just not American. And, so, you know, with that, I want to say thanks. I also want to say thanks to Brian for coming out. And, you know, he's made my journey through Scoutmasterdom been very pleasurable, along with Jerry. I'll give Jerry his due. I've always given Jerry his due. But I got to say that Brian's helped out, and for him and I to bounce ideas off each other, this was really a good thing that came about. This show, I think, is going to help a lot of people, and we really do look forward to doing it. Right now, we're going to keep it probably once a month. If we see a lot of people saying, "Hey, can you come on more often?" Well, you know, you can mail the checks too. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, right.
I think PayPal.
Well, so. Yeah, well, Shawn, I really appreciate being included and being the newest member of the PTC Media family. I was listening to you for a while. I think you got a great show over there at True North, and I think we hopefully can do some great things here on Scouting Nation. And, you know, it's all about you guys. We as Scoutmasters do what we do, or we as Scouters do what we do for the Scouts. And a reflection of that is tonight. Shawn and I are doing what we do for you guys. And also a little selfish purpose in that if we can, I don't know, plant a seed or get a conversation started and get some feedback, we can learn something from you and find out what you guys are doing in your corner of this Scout Nation.
That's right. And if you guys do decide to pay us, I take PayPal. No, I don't. I've never done this for the money. I've always said that if I started doing this to get paid, that I won't do it anymore. This is fun. This isn't going to turn into a business for me. Getting back to the roots and talking about scouting and the stuff that is important. It's the little things. It's the do I want to be a problem solver? Sure. But I'd rather just say, this is what works for us. This is what doesn't work for us. We can solve problems. We can do a lot of different things. But, you know, you guys, you listeners out there, you guide us into what you want us to do. So that you can help us out by leaving feedback. And just for anybody who, you know, is a listener, but they're also a forum troll, Scoutmaster Bryan is now an admin on the forums, so watch it. But that's one thing I do like about PTC forums is that we are.
They're the nicest Scout forums on the net. They really are. I'm involved in a bunch of different forums, and I can honestly say before I even became a member of the PTC family officially, I always felt like a member of the family at the forums because they're just a really nice, clean, helpful place to discuss one of our life's passions, which is scouting, and free of trolls and free of abuse and screaming and name calling. So definitely go there, definitely check us out. And we're not the only kids on the block; we're just the newest kids on the block. There are guys that have been in there and gals, and jump on there. There's something for everybody, and you will not be disappointed with the reaction and the feedback that you get from those forums.
And
so please go visit those.
We're one big, happy, dysfunctional family. So, all right, folks. Well,
that's what Scouts is all about.
Scouts are all about. All right, folks. Well, thanks for listening to Scout Nation. And when we come up with something quirky and cool to say that goes with Scout Nation, we'll post it. But until then, have a great scouting week.
Good night.
Good night. 69 minutes.
I fumble for words a little bit more than you do.
You are a lot stronger when it comes to getting out what you want to say.
Well, because I have the voices constantly talking in my head, so.
Don't say that.